Shalom, brothers and sisters. Good evening. This is Brother Steve coming back with another video. Okay. Hope everybody's doing good. Hope you all are enjoying this channel. If y'all like this video, hit the thumbs up. Please share it. Today, we're going to have a conversation. We're going to have a conversation. Yeah, we're going to have a conversation. I was going to bring some history today. I was going to go into some of the Negro generals of Rome tonight. And I decided, or more so I was redirected, if you will, to go in a different direction. I was redirected to go in a different direction, okay? I have been thinking about this all day. Driving around and thinking, because there are so many things I'd like to share with y'all. Okay, but yesterday I received a comment from a brother in the work. The brother basically happened to have seen the New Breed show. He commented he commented about the video, and I thought to myself, he said something to me in his comment about the strength of the brothers right now who are doing the work. And anytime that I'm talking to brothers and sisters, or I'm addressing groups, conducting lectures or teaching or anything of that nature, I always have to give credit to other sources and people. See, brothers and sisters, what you see in me is a culmination of a lot of different people. We all know this. Socialization in society shapes us, okay? I mean, obviously, we're living in a world where you have a multitude of social constructs, okay? So the social constructs, they shape us. Social constructs in themselves, they basically give you your identity, okay? That's why we have culture. Now, I don't really want to get too in deep to sociological or theoretical dynamic models, if you will. I don't want to go there in that direction. It's important, but it's not the core objective to this video. So, the brother yesterday, he asked me, he said, Brother Steve, basically, strong men. Now, brothers and sisters, y'all have to keep in mind that, hey, in this hour, in this world that we're living in right now, we as believers have to stand up for the body of Christ. And we have to rep this thing. And most people who know me, or are acclimated with me, or in terms of my demeanor, my disposition, I'm the same way that I was growing up that I am now in terms of social activities, basketball, reading, all that other stuff. That stuff hasn't changed. But this perhaps is something that I'm going to talk about tonight that most do not know about me. And you all will be the first to know, okay? So I feel like it's a necessity that I talk about this, because what you have now is there are people who, there are younger brothers and sisters, those that have been unlearned, who are waking up and they're seeing us. And sometimes they have questions, or they have, they hunger and thirst for knowledge on the individual themselves, because they're curious. and they're trying to relate their own experiences to whom they're learning from, okay, or who's ever guiding their spiritual development, okay, who's ever facilitating that development in terms of elders or church or whomever. So I feel like it was important that to do this video, okay? Now this is just a conversation that I'm having with y'all. And I like to, the brother know who he is. So hopefully this will give him some understanding in terms of him reflecting on his own life, his own experiences, what he's gone through, okay? So brothers and sisters, once again, thank you all for being here. I am truly thankful and grateful to, once again, come on YouTube, be in this hour with y'all, doing the Most High's will in Christ. I am truly humbled and thankful. All right, let's proceed, y'all. Question. Got a question for y'all. I got some notes here, but I got a question for you guys. And my question is this. When did you discover that you were different from everyone else as a child? When did you discover that you were different from everyone else as a child? Let that question process for a minute, okay? Question number 2, guys. What courses of events led up to you discovering that you were different? What courses of events led up to you discovering that you were different? You see, as children, the events shape us, whether good or bad, to who we become as adults. Whether we go right, whether we go left, whether we be contributors to society, to the world, or whether we become deviants, whether we become people that contribute to social ills, subculture. See, we all have certain events that have transpired with us to have molded and shaped us to whom we are today. And, you know, once again, brothers and sisters, when you think about those questions I just asked, I'm going to go in the direction on one side of those who didn't necessarily have what you call a normal childhood, okay? It's not that they didn't participate with in social organizations, social activities like playing sports, basketball, football, perhaps maybe you was on a cheerleading team, you know, maybe, you know, you went out of town, you went to amusement parks. No, I'm not talking about those groups of children. I'm talking about the children who always felt that they were always alone. Perhaps those children that had what we call a lack of friends, okay? Or they hung around with what we called in that time children who were vulnerable. They didn't really hang with the in crowd due to popularity. But, you know, these children were still well known. I mean, they went outside during recess. They participated, right? But the group of children that I'm talking about are the ones who experienced unusual and abnormal levels of violence. the children who were subjugated to ridicule, the children who were subjugated to rejection. Once again, violence, whether seen or unseen violence. I'm speaking about that particular group and category of children. Maybe perhaps the children in that group, when you guys start to reflect and think about, and I know some of you know of those, and perhaps some of you, that had unusual, difficult childhoods, things that you couldn't explain, things you couldn't talk about. Some of you were humiliated, ostracized. Some of you were picked on, slandered. Some of you were abused, verbally, spiritually, physically, because you were different. Because you were different. And because you were different, your path in life was also different. And the fact that you didn't understand as a child why the Most High allowed you to go through certain things. You know, brothers and sisters, for some of y'all, including myself, because I'm speaking to myself now, that's why I'm here, speaking to you. As children, we don't really quite understand that the Most High foreknew us when we were in our mother's womb. He knew us in the heavens, and He sent us in this place. And the Most High, with His omnipotent and omniscient knowledge, He knew what we would go through. He knew that we would go through ups and downs, successes and failures. He was well aware of this before we came into this earth. Brothers and sisters, I want to talk about my childhood, a little bit of my preteens and college life. So I want to talk about my childhood somewhat, my preteens, all the way up to college. I want to share and give you what I call a glimpse into my past. So, brothers and sisters, I've titled this video, A Rebellious Child. The Most High Never Let Me Go. Once again, the title of this video is A Rebellious Child. The Most High Never Let Me Go. Let me proceed. Brothers and sisters, growing up, once again, at that time in my childhood, at the age of 5, you know how there are certain events and things that you just remember. There are certain things that you just will never forget. Maybe they were impactful events, maybe they were not impactful events. But for whatever the case, they were important for you because they happened and they transpired. And they're just things that you remember from your childhood. Brothers and sisters, I can remember being at age of 5 or 6. Excuse me. And I used to get up early in the morning. And in Detroit, we got these bungalow style homes, right? And so all the rooms, now the house I grew up in, 3-bedroom, bungalow, all brick. Most of the houses in Detroit, on the east side of Detroit, are built that way. Well, anyway, I'll just giving you extra detail. All the rooms in my parents' house were in the back. And there was a long hallway that led to the dining room and the kitchen and the living room. I can remember at the age of 5 getting up early in the morning. And when I would get up, I would basically, I would get up very quietly. Now, me and my brother's room was next to my parents' room. My sister's room was across my sister's. Their room was across the hallway. And what I would do is I would always open the door into my parents' room. Now we're talking about 6, 7 o'clock in the morning, 5 o'clock from what I remember. I don't know, it was probably like 6 or 7. It always seemed when I would get up early in the morning, it was always, the sun would always be out because I could see down the hall the sunlight, the sunbeams coming into the hallway, right? And those sunbeams would come right down the hall all the way to me and my brother's room. The sunbeams and the sun rays would hit the adjacent wall, and they would bounce reflection right to our room. So I used to always look at that. I used to be like, it was just something about seeing those sunbeams and those sun rays hit that wall, and then it light up the whole back of the house. I don't know if you guys have had those type of moments, but so what I would do is I would basically walk past my parents' room. I would open their door, and I would just watch them. They'd be asleep. And I used to just sit there watching my parents sleep. I'd close the door, and then I'd go down, proceed down the hallway towards the living room and dining room. We had this all black old school shelf, if you will. It wasn't really a shelf, it was an old school bookshelf, all metal. And on the lower row of the bookshelf, there were Bibles. Now, mind you, 5 and 6, I used to always get up and I would go to the shelf and I would pick up a Bible and I would sit down right in that hallway against that wall and I just look at the pictures and the illustrations of the Bible. I would just read the Bible. So I got in the habit of doing that. And there came a point in time down the road where I remember there were some unusual things happening at that time as a child that I quite really didn't understand. When I would go to sleep at night, the room would be really, really dark. I would lay in my bed, pitch black, dark room. That's one thing about that room. Me and my brother stayed in. It was always dark room. Well, anyway, what I used to do is I used to sleep with the covers on my face, right? And one night, I took the covers on my face, completely pitch black. And I remember seeing things move. I remember seeing things move. I didn't know what they were, but I seen things moving. Now, brothers and sisters, I'm not trying to freak y'all out. I'm not trying to scare y'all. I'm not. I'm just having this conversation with you. Okay? So as a child, I would see things that were unusual. You know, my grandmother used to always tell me that when I was born, I came in here holding my brother's foot. I guess, or maybe it was my brother holding my foot. No, no, that's what it was. Because I have a twin. Okay, and she would always remind me. She said, you know, Steve, when you were born, you was holding your brother's foot. You was holding your brother's foot. She also told me that my great grandmother and my great grandfather, my great grandfather was a pastor. He was a pastor. He was a pastor. I didn't know that. I didn't know. 2 years down the road, she would always tell me, she would say, Steve, when you were born, I told everybody that you would be different. You would be different. And then she said that my great grandmother, on the day that my brother and I was born, was dying in the same hospital. In the same hospital, the same day we were born. And she said that basically it took two men to come into this earth for her to let go and pass on. That's what my grandmother told me. And my grandmother told me the course of events on that day is she was going back and forth from one floor to the next, one floor to the next. Because as my brother and I were being born, my great grandmother was dying. And she stated that until though she knew that my mother was having twins, and she knew that basically she was not going to leave this earth, leave this world until my brother and I was born. Well, we were born, and soon after that, she died. My grandmother told me that she told the entire family, at least, that she said, this one right here, she was talking about me. He's going to have to be the one you watch. He's going to have to be the one you watch. Yeah. She would say, he's different. My grandmother stayed in the Bible. She loved the Most High. She loved Christ. She was extremely influential on the entire family in terms of the matriarchy. Now, my grandfather, obviously was a strong patriarch of the family, but my grandmother obviously, and that's a good thing about women. We men, we lead families, we sacrifice, we protect, but women, they definitely carry a different role when it comes to the maternal things of keeping a family together. So I just kind of wanted to share that with y'all. My grandmother was very, very gifted with certain senses. She has spiritual senses. What I'm trying to tell you, brothers and sisters, is that as a child, I also had spiritual senses. And you also had those spiritual senses. And because you didn't know what they were, and because you didn't understand that, it left a void at times. I would lay in that bed and see things moving all throughout that room, pitch black. And I would see it with my own eyes, and I'd just see it like, what is this? What is it? I would just see things moving. Yeah, I would see it. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, yeah, I would see it. Brothers and sisters, I'm going to fast forward. Age of 12 and 13. And I know that's 6-year difference. But when I hit the age of 12 and 13, once again, that was a period of my life where I was expanded, where my level of intellect was increasing. Because once again, I told you guys initially when I came on YouTube, I always was interested in things that most people were not, namely spiritual and esoteric knowledge, along with history and having an understanding of how this world worked in the invisible, how spirituality was directly related to history. So that was me as a child. I can remember reading the Egyptian Book of the Dead. Now, mind you, I came up in Catholicism, y'all. So I had a religious Catholic understanding in terms of God and Christ. So I would read these books. I also remember reading a book called Divine Comedy by Dante Alighieri in the Infernals of Hell. Yeah, 12 years of age. Dante Alighieri, The Divine Comedy, Infernals of Hell. So I'd be up all night reading these books, getting knowledge, not realizing what it really was. The more I started to believe certain lies and certain types of spiritual falsehoods at the age of 12 and 13, a series of course of events started to happen in my life. A lot of violence. A lot of violence. I remember fighting 13 now. Mind you, I'm in the hood, right? And I remember fighting. Here it is, I'm 12, 13. Let me see, 13, yeah. 13. Fighting grown men in the hood. Yeah. You know, gladiator school. I ain't gonna lie, I got my ass whooped. I was fighting grown men. Fighting grown men at the age of 12 and 13. I'm talking about, not no 40-year-old at the time, 30, 20, 21. I was fighting. I was bucking in the hood. Surrounded by gangs. A lot of violence. Yeah. I remember guys coming up to the school pulling out long ass guns. I'm talking about from the pants, just holding them things up. You know what I'm saying? 90% of those young guys, 90% of them guys I grew up in the hood, they're dead. Probably 80%, 85. 5%, the rest, incarcerated for life. Maybe Some are out. I'm not sure. I don't know. Around that time in my life, I faced a lot of tribulation. There was always something going on. And all I used to do was play basketball, football, And my father, he did the best. Like I say, we was in a boys club. And like I say, we was always playing sports. But then again, sometimes it just wasn't enough. It couldn't really protect us from a lot of the, what I call spiritual disruptions. The unseen hand of violence. Always force of violence. And I just couldn't understand it. Brothers and sisters, you have also had similar experiences. And I know a lot of you can also relate to what I'm saying here. You went through what you went through because you were different. You were born different, and the Most High knew you in your mother's womb. Before you even came to this earth, the Most High knew you. The Most High knew that all of you would go through a sequence of events, spiritual events, that would mold you to who you are today. Got in high school. Speed up, y'all. When I got in high school, normal high school, enjoying experience, older, more mature. My whole objective was to hurry up and get through high school, 4 years, get the hell out, and get me a scholarship. Because that's all I really cared about was, I was extremely athletic, extremely. Played football, played basketball, soccer, baseball, table tennis. So when I got in high school, y'all, mind you, I was carrying a lot of what I call unusual knowledge into a school that most people, probably didn't have, especially coming from where I was coming from, And it's all right.